Hi everybody. I just received a video from someone on another channel, another YouTube channel, and they were talking about um, a radio show on BBC Scotland. And yesterday they had an XJW on an interview on the radio, and I wanted you guys to hear it. I'm hoping that you can hear it all right. Here we go, listen.
Of child abuse within the Jehovah's Witness organisation. I've been speaking to Nick, who lives in Scotland and was sexually abused at the hands of someone who was a Jehovah's Witness at the time. His abuser was finally convicted and sentenced to 10 years in prison. He told me what happened.
My mum became a Jehovah's Witness when I was around about 6 years of age, and she met a fellow Jehovah's Witness who she then married, and it turned out that he was a paedophile. So from the age of 7 to 12, I was subjected to some pretty awful crimes at the hands of this particular man who groomed me right from day one, really.
So it was physical and sexual abuse?
Yes, it was physical, mental and sexual abuse.
How did that affect you?
It was, it's kind of taken its toll. By the time I was 13 or 14, I was a really kind of very angry kid. Had no support, nothing, no psychological help, and yeah, it's been pretty tough.
Yeah, did you try to tell anybody at the time? What did you do?
Yes, well, with the physical abuse and mental abuse, I would obviously tell what was happening, but when my mum went to speak to the church elders of Jehovah's Witnesses, it was his word against mine, and there was nothing that could be done about it. And I really didn't feel comfortable speaking of the sexual abuse. It was only at the point where I was actually raped by him that I then came forward and said I didn't tell that I'd been raped, but that he was being inappropriate towards me. And at that point he admitted that he hadn't been doing any nice things, and he was then, my mum and him split up.
Yeah, so what happened then to him that your mum split up? So obviously she, couldn't bear this any longer and presumably was horrified.
Yes, I would imagine that she was horrified, although it would be another 2 years before she went to the police when we suspected that he had perhaps been interfering with his son, my half-brother. So she went to the police at that point, but then dropped all the charges.
Why?
I have no idea. I can only imagine that she didn't want to push that because it would bring reproach on Jehovah's name.
And that was maybe in her mind, a lot of it, that it would bring shame on Jehovah's Witnesses.
Absolutely, yes. Jehovah's Witnesses are in fear of having any bad publicity, and you don't take a brother to court. That's drummed into you. So the actual laws within the Jehovah's Witnesses are deemed higher than the secular laws of the country that we're living in.
And so how do they deal with something like this? Did they deal with something like this? What happened?
Well, as I say, for a long time it was my word against his. When he finally admitted that he had been doing wrongdoing towards me, he was disfellowshipped from the congregation. But sometime later he was then accepted back as a Jehovah's Witness.
With that process of disfellowship, I think you called it, how big a deal is that? How shaming is that?
Disfellowshipping is a big deal because anyone that is disfellowshipped, they're immediately cut off from that community, and they have to show repentance in coming back into the community. But nobody within the congregation knows why that person has been disfellowshipped. They're not told what's happened. They're just simply told that person is no longer a Jehovah's Witness.
And he came back. How did that make you feel?
I was absolutely flabbergasted that he came back. He was accepted back as a Jehovah's Witness, somebody who, as far as Jehovah's Witnesses are concerned, is acceptable to live forever in a paradise, as they believe, whereas billions of people around the world are going to be killed at Armageddon.
How did you, what happened then?
At that point, I then alerted the police to the statements that had been taken from me when I was 15, and they were interested in speaking to him, let him know that he was on their radar. But it wasn't till a few years later that I went back to the police and told them exactly what had happened to me and what I've been through.
And what's happened to
At that point, he was then arrested, and 2 years later, it went to trial, and he was sentenced to 10 years in prison.
Do you feel justice was done eventually?
Eventually, I feel that justice was done as far as the crimes towards me. The difficulty is that I have had to pay a very high price in doing that. In coming forward, I knew that it was at the risk of losing my family, my Jehovah's Witness family.
And that has happened.
And that's what's happened. I'm now being shunned completely by my Jehovah's Witness family.
And how do you feel towards the Jehovah's Witnesses?
I feel that they have a lot to answer for. They operate as a secret society. They don't want people to know what happens, especially when it comes towards child abuse. They will not warn anybody in their congregations that there's a paedophile within their midst. And they feel that their two-witness rule that they have is actually higher than what the secular authorities would have to offer.
That's Nick speaking to me earlier. Well, the Watchtower, which is the UK headquarters of the Jehovah's Witnesses, refused to put anyone up for an interview, and instead they gave us this statement: Jehovah's Witnesses abhor child abuse and do not shield abusers from the authorities or from the consequences of their actions. Coming up to,
They say the same thing. You notice Watchtower has like a phrase, and they send that out to everybody for everything. We abhor child abuse, and, come on. They need to say something from the heart, really. They give this generalized, pre-printed, pre-approved message to give people, just like saying F you. They don't do anything about the problem. And you see now there's another victim that is totally shunned by the Jehovah's Witnesses, and that's what happens. You speak the truth, you're gone. You ask questions that require the truth, you're gone. There is no truth in their religion that they call the truth. None whatsoever. But I heard this, I looked it up on the BBC Scotland, and they had a recording of it, and I wanted you all to hear that. That was on their morning show yesterday, on the 20th of November, 2017. BBC Scotland. Talk to y'all later.